This question A and B are review of things that we've already done. And then in C, we can see the last transformation that we haven't done, moving things up and down. So for A and B, and the question says graph it between 0 and 2 pi. We're going to just graph the whole thing continuing on forever. So for part A, what's getting affected? The amplitude. So instead of from 1 to 1, now it's from 3 to negative 3. Period doesn't get affected, so it's going to be 2 pi and divide it into 4 equal sections. Where does sine start? Sine starts on our center line going up. And there we have the graph continuing on forever. If you wanted to be specific and only graph it from 0 to 2 pi, you would have to stop at those points and not have your arrows go on forever. So we could be exact here. Whoa. That's fancy. Okay. We could be exact here and erase those things and have it stop. And that would be exactly between 0 and 2 pi. Part B. Now the 3 is inside of our function. And so our amplitude is going to stay 1 and negative 1. But if we mark along here, that 3 is going to multiply our x values by 1/3. Or if we use our new formula, period is 2 pi over the b value. Our period is going to be 2 pi over 3. If you divide that into 4 equal sections, half is pi over 3. Half of pi over 3 is pi over 6. 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6. Which you could reduce to 1 pi over 2 if you wanted. Where does sine start? Sine starts in the middle, going up. Maximum, back to the center, down to our minimum, back to the center. And this would be the graph going on forever. If you wanted to show exactly between 0 and 2 pi, well, can you see I've gone 2 pi over 3? And if I extended this long enough, this same distance again would be 4 pi over 3, and that same distance again would be 6 pi over 3, and 6 pi over 3 is exactly 2 pi. Then if you divided each of these into 4 sections and kept going with maximum center, minimum center, maximum center, minimum center, that would be graphing it exactly between 0 and 2 pi. And we'd have to erase our arrowhead on that side to have it stop. So what we see is when it's been compressed by 1/3, our period becomes 2 pi over 3. And now, between 0 and 2 pi, where we normally just had 1 period, we now have 3 periods when it's compressed by 1/3. And that's going to be important later as we do some solving questions, when we solve questions when there's a horizontal compression or a horizontal stretch. And finally, the one we've been waiting for, our last transformation. What happens when we have a plus 3? Well, that just moves our graph up 3. But as far as graphing, so we've been sort of developing some shortcuts along the way for graphing sine and cos. The one thing that we haven't shown on our graphs, because it's been on the x-axis, is our center line, our sinusoidal axis. Our sinusoidal axis has been on our x-axis, so it's kind of hidden there. But on this one, our sinusoidal axis, or our center line, is also going to get moved up 3. And that's one thing that we're going to show on graphs whenever things have been moved up. So just in the same way that we, 1, 2, 3, in the same way that we show something that's important to our graph but not actually part of our graph, for example, asymptotes, we're going to draw our sinusoidal axis, our center line, with a dotted line. Preferably, if you have a red pen, that'd be great, to show that our center line is now 3. What's our amplitude? It's still 1. But now, because our center line is 3, our amplitude means that we're going to go up 1 to 4. That's going to be our maximum. And down 1 to 2. So we're going to use our center line and our amplitude to figure out what our maximum and our minimum is going to be. Along our x-axis, we're going to mark our period. What's our period going to be for this one? Just 2 pi. So we mark 2 pi, split it into 4 equal sections. And all along, I've been saying sine starts on the center line. I haven't been saying sine starts at 0. And the reason I've been saying that is now that things have been shifted up, we have to say, well, it starts on the center line. So our sine graph is going to start on our center line. Sine starts on the center line going up. Goes to our max, back to our center line. At 3 pi over 2, it's at our minimum. And at 2 pi, it's back to our maximum. To the center line. So for these ones, we're going to start by graphing our center line, use our center line and our amplitude to find our maximum and our minimum, mark out your period, and then go from, because it's sine, center to maximum, back to center to minimum, back to center. Okay, so last questions for the day are 6 and 7. I'll put them all up on the board all together.